introduce our next speaker, Don Edwards, who will be presenting on some travel preparedness tips. Don Edwards is a self-described chronic kidney disease warrior who has experienced firsthand every renal replacement modality, including kidney transplant and rejection. She's currently a nocturnal home hemodialysis patient and is pursuing a second transplant. She's dedicated to improving the quality of life for people with kidney disease and is also a resource to her community, sharing her story and educating people about the relationship between hypertension, diabetes, and kidney disease, especially among the underserved communities of color. Don has served the community for over 25 years and is currently on the board of directors for the IPRO ESRD Network of New York. So please join me in welcoming Don Edwards.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. It's so good to be with you this evening. I just have to thank Lori and RSN for inviting me to be a part of Hope Week. It really means a lot to me. When I first started dialysis over 35 years ago, one of the first places that I was told to look for support was RSN. And wow, Lori's been in the business for a long time and she's one of my personal champions. So I just want to thank you so much for the opportunity to be with you all today. And so I am a 35 plus year kidney patient and I started on in-center hemodialysis. And when I first started dialysis, I was afraid of traveling. I thought it was something that I wasn't going to be able to do. And I was only 22 when I started dialysis anyway. So I was, kind of leery about traveling. But once I went on peritoneal dialysis, which was 3.5 years later, and I got that small machine, and my nurse told me, said, "Oh, of course you can travel on dialysis." And I tried it, and I went on my first all girls trip with all my girlfriends, and we went to New Orleans for a weekend, and we had such a good time. And I said, you know what? I really can do this. So now I am an avid traveler. I work as a patient advocate, so I get to travel all over the country talking to patients about the benefits of home dialysis. And I've been able to travel on each modality that I've experienced, which is in center um, peritoneal dialysis, home hemodialysis, and I also travel with my transplant. So I wanted to talk to you about some of the different strategies and tricks and tips to make your travel successful and enjoyable. So I have a couple of pictures. I don't want to inundate you with slides and stuff. We just want to keep it informal and fun. But I have a couple of pictures and hopefully Suzette or Cher will put them up for me one at a time. And maybe we can start with picture number one.
Hold
But
on
the
one
first
second.
thing, okay, no
I'm sorry.
worries.
I just have to,
Okay,
I think I have to remove your spotlight so people can see your
okay, no
slide. Let
worries.
me do that really quick. All
Yeah,
right.
and we'll just chit chat. The first thing is when you want to travel is not to be afraid. Um, Traveling can be a whole lot of fun. Of course, it can be an enjoyable experience. It's a time for bonding with family and friends. It's a time to go places and to see things that you've never seen before or do things that you've never done before. So, don't be afraid to reach out and travel. Just because you have kidney disease does not, by any stretch of the imagination, mean that your life is over. So you can travel. It takes some organization and it takes a little bit of planning. So, as I said, I'm currently on home hemodialysis now, and I have been for almost 15 years. And maybe we can go to the next picture. Okay, so there's my bedroom. I live in a tiny house in New York City, and So this is my home hemodialysis machine. And when I travel, I take that top piece that you see, I take that and pack it up right along with me. And that's how I travel. Um, the you have to work it out with your nurse in plenty of time. That's tip number one. Plan your trip in plenty of time so that you can get all of your things organized. So you want to just decide where it is that you want to go. You want to get your tickets, whatever it is. If you're doing in-center hemodialysis, you need to work that out with your social worker because they're going to have to call ahead and they're going to have to find a dialysis center for you that is closest to where it is that you want to go. So if you're going to a resort, you want to find a dialysis center close to the resort so you're not spending your whole vacation time traveling to a dialysis center. You also want to try and negotiate a time that will work best for you. I remember when I was on in-center hemo and I went on vacation, I got a time slot that was like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So that kind of ruined the vacation because that then I couldn't go out to dinner with everybody and all of the fun stuff is happening. So if you can, try and negotiate a good time that'll work for everyone that you're traveling with as well. But if you're on home dialysis, excellent because you do your dialysis treatment at a time that works best for you. So you just make sure that you talk with your nurse, let them know where you're going to go, give them as much information as possible, the exact location, the telephone number, who you're going who they should contact at the hotel or who they should contact at the house or that you're going to be staying at so that they can ship all of your supplies ahead of time. Now you're going to have to take your machine with you and something called your ancillary supplies. So that would include your needles, your gloves, your chucks, all of the things that you use to connect yourself to the machine. You're going to need to take those with you, but your things like your water and your big supplies, they'll ship those ahead. So you want to do that in as far advance as possible, usually 3 months to 1 month, ahead of time if possible. Now I know we have emergencies sometimes. Sometimes we have a death in the family and we have to go really quickly. Sometimes they can work it out for you. But if you're an in-center, you really want to give as much time as possible because there's a nursing shortage going on and staff shortages. And sometimes it's difficult to get a spot in the clinic that you want to go to. For transplant recipients, you all travel just like anybody else, right? But you should always think about your medications. Do I have enough medications for my trip? Where's the nearest pharmacy? In case I need a refill, quickly. Um, where's the nearest hospital in case I run a temperature or if I'm feeling like I might be going into a rejection episode? How long is it going to take me to get to that nearest hospital? Is there a doctor that you feel comfortable with in the city or the town that you're going to? So you always want to make sure you work out those fine details because you never know what's going to happen, while you're away, and you don't want to get caught without having all of your I's dotted and all your T's crossed. So when you're starting to get close to your day of travel, you want to make sure that you think about where you're going and you want to pack accordingly. I always look at the weather report before I go anywhere just to see if there's going to be any weird weather changes. Like now, if you're going to the south, you know that you're going to need rain gear because it's hurricane season. Maybe you don't want to travel down to the south in the United States right now. If you're coming up to New York City, it may be warm where you live, but it may be cool But up in New York, it's really chilly now. So you want to make sure that you look at the weather report so that you can pack accordingly, because you don't want to get caught having to buy a jacket somewhere where you didn't pack, accordingly. You may get ripped off for an expensive jacket that you're not going to use when you get back home. So always check your weather report. When it starts getting close to the day that you're going to travel, also, um, you want to make sure that you inspect your luggage. Take a look at all of your bags. Make sure that your bags are large enough to carry whatever it is that you want to take along with you. You want to make a list of everything that you need. Uh, I know that sometimes you think you have everything, and then you're like, oh boy, once the day of travel comes on you, oh boy, do I have everything? So if you make a list, you can check off everything as you go along, as you're packing. So making lists is always a great thing to do. And there are so many websites that are helpful when it comes to making lists and traveling. You can check with your nurse, check with your provider, and you can also check online and support groups for like travel documents and guides to help with travel. So one of the things that I do that I know everybody may not like it, but I love it and I've gotten used to it, is on the day of travel, if I'm traveling by air, when I get to the airport, the first thing that I do is I either go to the service desk or I go to the wheelchair uh, port, and I will get myself into a wheelchair. Um, you look well and sometimes you feel well, but manipulating through an airport can be unbelievable. My nearest airport is JFK Airport, and it is huge. So you may serve yourself better by just getting yourself a wheelchair and just sit down and let somebody push you around from point A to point B so you don't wear yourself out, trying to get from the door to the TSA check-in to the gate. And if you're going to travel by car and you're going to take your machine and your devices and stuff with you, just make sure that you have room in the car and that you have packed your medical devices and all of your ancillary supplies. Make sure that you pack them well enough to be able to sustain the trip, because sometimes things get a little bumpy along the road. So make sure that you have all of your things securely fastened into the car and everything. And when you get to the airport, I heard Rachel talk about this a few minutes ago. How when you get to the airport, sometimes they say, "Oh, well, I'm not taking that. I'm not picking that up." TSA on their website, they have a fact sheet where you can actually show the gate agent or the customer service representatives in the airport that your dialysis machine and all of your ancillary supplies cannot be charged as luggage. So you want to make sure you pack your medical supplies separate from your clothing, because when you take your dialysis machine and your ancillary supplies, they cannot charge you at the airport um, for your medical supplies to travel. So that's one thing you want to make sure of. And if they give you a hard time at the airport, you want to show them that TSA document, and you can look on your airline's website, or you can look up TSA.gov, and they'll actually show you the document that states that medical supplies do not get charged, to fly. so that's another important piece. And with that being said, I guess you want to make sure that you're giving yourself enough time once you go to the airport so that if you do get into an argument with them about it, you're not missing your flight because you're talking to them about your medical equipment shipping. So I think my next picture shows you my medical supplies and exactly, oh no, hey, um, that's okay. This is me, and I'm actually doing my dialysis treatment on an RV. So I wanted to show that, you really can travel doing dialysis or with kidney disease. The top picture is me in Florida, and I was on an RV, and obviously my dialysis machine fit quite nicely there, and I was able to do my treatment. And the bottom picture is me in South Carolina. Now, as I said, it's only that top piece that you travel with, and you can see the bags of hanging water on the top. That's what you use to do your dialysis treatment with when you travel, when you're on home hemodialysis. So I just wanted to give you an example of what of how I travel or how someone on home hemodialysis travels. And the next picture I think will be of my luggage. So like I said, you want to travel with your suitcase, and then that orange bag, that's my ancillary supplies. And I was going away for about a week. So I had to travel with my saline bags and needles and all kinds of good stuff. So all of that stuff was in that orange bag. And they actually couldn't charge me for my orange bag or my dialysis machine, which is in that box underneath on the bottom. So that's pretty cool because that machine weighs 100 pounds, and that bag of supplies that I had there for a week, that was over 50 pounds. So that could have been a lot of money. Another thing that I didn't think about is I use the same airline all the time. So not only do I build up points, but I have it in my travel dossier that I travel with a wheelchair and I travel with medical supplies. So they know automatically when I get to the airport that I'm coming with a machine and a whole bunch of medical supplies. So if you travel frequently, or even if you don't, using the same airline can be particularly helpful. So again, you want to make sure that you take your time, plan ahead, so that you can have a great trip and not be worried about whether you have all of your supplies or not. And the next slide is really funny because this is what it looks like when you get to the hotel with all of your medical supplies. And it's not something to panic about. So what? So what? You have a whole bunch of medical supplies. You're going to be able to do your treatment. You're going to have everything that you need. And even if when you get to your destination, if you discover that you don't have everything that you need, that's why in the beginning I said make sure you plot out where your nearest dialysis center is. And if you're in a home program, make sure you know where your nearest home program is, because say you forgot one of your cartridges for your peritoneal dialysis, or say you forgot something for your HHD treatment. You can call up and maybe you can go to your nearest home clinic and they can provide you with whatever supplies you need. I remember one time I went to travel and I forgot my heparin. And thank goodness I was able to just run over to the nearest dialysis center and pick up a couple of bottles of heparin. So if you do forget something, it's always, you don't need to panic. Just as long as you plan it out far enough in advance. And like I said, plot out the places that you may need to stop off and pick up something. Like if you forgot one of your pill bottles, then if you get your drugs from CVS or Walgreens, then you'll be able to pick up your medicine. So don't panic. Um, I think that's I think that's my last picture. So I just wanted to let everybody know you can enjoy yourself. You can go on vacation. You can go and visit family and friends. You can have a good time going out. You always just want to make sure that you're following your diet as you're instructed. Try not to cheat too much when you go on vacation. You want to enjoy yourself and you don't want to get sick while you're out traveling. So you just want to take everything in moderation. And oh, one of the last things that I always tell everyone when you're traveling, make sure that you have enough money. I always have cash on me when I travel because I like to tip. Um, Whoever pushes me in the wheelchair, they get a tip. Whenever somebody touches my dialysis machine, like to help me get in a taxi from home to the airport, you want to tip them for bringing your equipment in for you. When you get to the hotel, the bellman may bring your things up to your hotel room. You want to give them a tip. Always being a good tipper helps you when you're doing your traveling because people won't mind helping you again. So, being a good tipper, taking good care of yourself, making sure that you plan ahead and give yourself plenty of time beforehand, that should almost guarantee you a successful and a fun trip or vacation. um, and if you have a little slip up or forget something along the way, don't panic. Just get on the phone, call your nurse, or you can see again, plot it out beforehand on who you should call in case of an emergency, and make sure you have all of your insurance cards with you when you travel, and you can do it. You'll have a great time. I love to travel, no matter what treatment option that I've been on, and I'm sure that you will enjoy your travels too.